Hey, what's up y'all, it's Charlie. On today's episode I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my delicious blackened pork chops. Now blackening is a cooking technique that is associated with Cajun cuisine and it was popularized by the great Chef Paul Prudhomme. Now it involves cooking meat or seafood with a flat surface. We take that, we coat it with oil, mostly common butter, and we season it on both sides, and from there it is cooked in a very hot cast iron skillet. Creates this brownish black char on top of the surface of the meat or seafood. It's really flavorful. This recipe calls for you to make about 4 to 6 pork chops, enough to serve about 2 to 4 people depending on how many you make. It's flavorful and absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all you'll need to make your New Orleans Cajun-style blackened pork chops. Let's get started with our ingredients. You'll need 2 pounds, that equals to about 4 to 6 center cut pork loin chops. And along with that, you're going to need some salted or unsalted butter or extra virgin olive oil, whichever one you prefer. And for your seasonings, you'll need some salt, black pepper, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Now if you don't have this, you can use the Zatarain's Creole seasoning or the Sapper Mama Cajun seasoning. And along with that, you're going to need some Chef Paul Prudhomme's pork and veal magic. If not, you can use the poultry magic in place of that. And you'll also need some dried thyme. And for your tools, you will need a 10-inch round cast iron skillet and a kitchen exhaust fan. Now, if you don't have this, you can take a fan and place it outside your window so that way you can ventilate the smoke out of your kitchen. You're going to need this because it will get smoky. And there we have it. Alright, let's get straight to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add my pork chops into this mesh strainer. And I'm going to rinse the pork chops off with cold water. Now I like to do this step to rinse off any blood or particles that might be on the pork chops. This is optional if you want to do it, okay? Alright, now I've transferred my pork chops onto this 11 by 17 inch baking pan. Now here I have some napkins, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pat the pork chops dry. Make sure you do this really well. You don't want to have any water on your pork chops. You want to make sure you pat them dry really good. Alright, now that we have our pork chops nice and pat dry and ready to go. Alright, so in this stainless steel measuring cup here, I have 2 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. You can also use salted as well. And 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I just mixed it together in here. So I pretty much got the best of both worlds. But if you want to use all of the same thing, it's either 4 tablespoons of all butter or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just take a small amount and just apply it onto the pork chops. I would say about 2 teaspoons. It's a little bit, not too much. And from there, I'm going to just rub the olive oil and butter mixture all around the pork chops. Alright, now let's get started with the seasoning of our pork chops. Now I want to let you know that seasonings are adjustable for this recipe. So for the seasonings like the salt, the black pepper, and the Tony Chachere's, I would say about 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon on each side of the pork chop. But for the Chef Paul Prudhomme's pork and veal magic, I would say about 1/2 teaspoon on each side, because we're going to use a little bit more than that than the other seasonings. But as for me, when I season, I don't measure, I just sprinkle it on top. And you can follow along and do the same thing with me. Now first, I'm going to go ahead and lightly sprinkle some salt onto both sides of the pork chops. Lightly sprinkle some black pepper onto both sides of the pork chops. Lightly sprinkle some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning onto both sides of the pork chops. I'm going to lightly sprinkle some Chef Paul Prudhomme's pork and veal magic onto both sides of the pork chops. Now I'm going to use a little bit more than usual. And I'm going to lightly sprinkle some dried thyme onto both sides of the pork chops. About 1/4 teaspoon onto each side will do. Preheat your fire to high heat, the highest setting on your stove. Alright, here we have our cast iron skillet. We're going to let this get hot for about 2 minutes. Now while that's heating up, make sure that you have your kitchen exhaust fan turned on. And if you don't have that, just place a box fan into your kitchen window so that way it can help with the ventilation, because it will get smoky. Alright, it's been about 2 minutes now, and as you can see, our skillet is starting to smoke. That's exactly what we're looking for. Perfect, I love it. Add your pork chop into your cast iron skillet. Now frying times vary depending on the size of the pork chop, your stove, and your cast iron skillet. So you want to keep all those in mind. Now you're going to let these fry for about 4 to 6 minutes on each side. Now this is a little trick that I want to show you. This is definitely going to help with the cooking process, because sometimes pork chops, they'll kind of curl up a little bit when they fry. You just take your nice sturdy spatula and just press the pork chop down into the skillet and just hold it there. And that's going to help with the frying process. Alright, it's been about 4 to 6 minutes now. And I'm going to remove my pork chop out of the skillet. And as you can see, that's a nice golden brown. And from there, I'm going to just take the pork chop and I'm just going to add it onto a serving plate with the rest of the pork chops. Now that our pork chops are done, you're going to let them cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. And after that, they are ready to be served. And here's the cross section of the inside of the pork chop right here. This is the bone section. As you can see, there's no blood or anything like that. It is done. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Blackened pork chops made by a New Orleans native. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. Now I have an official website for all of my recipes, including for these delicious blackened pork chops. You can go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. Stay tuned as Charlie's Taste Test is coming up next. Can't wait. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. Ooh. Man, when I tell y'all this damn pork chop is so good, I can't even describe it. I mean, it's tender, it's juicy, it's well seasoned, and that char on the outside. Ooh. Man, I'm telling you, the flavors, it kind of builds on all together into the char with that flavor of the pork chop. Man, I'm telling you, you got yourself a winner. Absolutely delicious. I'm telling y'all, try the recipe. It's a winner. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a good one. Peace.